From one GOAT making the entire football world cry to the most heartbreaking moment of a legend's career, these are the 15 saddest moments in football. And first up, Messi got the news that shattered his career and changed his life. All his career, Messi had only known Barca. They came to his rescue back when he was a kid, after other clubs had bailed on him, paid for his surgery, and trained him to become one of the greatest players of all time. But in 2021, Messi's future at the club was in danger. See, Messi wanted to leave the previous summer, but he stayed instead. And with his contract about to expire, he was all set to renew. Until he got the sad news that broke his heart into pieces. The former president of the club and some other guys had been involved in some shady deals that made the club go broke. And in the end, the only way they could register the team for the new season was by doing the one thing everyone feared the most, letting Leo leave. And the day the news was made public, Messi couldn't take it. I'm not gonna lie, I cried for a week, man. One of the saddest days in football. Guess it's that Argentine effect. Because just like Messi, the Prince of Juve, La Jolla, gave us one of the saddest days in football. After joining Juventus in 2015, Paulo Dybala quickly established himself as one of the best players of his generation. He could do everything, from goals and assists to dribbles and nutmegs. And for 7 years, he put smiles on the faces of Juve fans. But in 2022, Dybala announced that he wasn't going to renew his contract with the old lady, and that season would be his last. And at the end of his final game, Dybala realized this was the end and let it all out. That's how much Juve meant to him. Italian farewells are hard. And if you thought Dybala leaving Juve was sad enough, you should have seen what the city of Rome did to a king. Francesco Totti was the ultimate one-club man. He spent his entire career, 28 years, playing for the same club, AS Roma. But at the end of the 2015-16 season, Totti realized that his body just couldn't carry him that long anymore. And because he didn't want to let the team down with awful performances, he decided that he was going to retire, and his final game in Rome put the city on standstill. Everyone came to say goodbye to the king. Seeing players tear up like that makes me want to cry, man. But at least Totti ended on a happy note, something I wish I could say about Andrea Pirlo. In his prime, Pirlo was a magician. He could pick a pass out of nowhere, and his free kicks were unbelievable. After leaving Milan, the critics said Pirlo was finished and he was going to retire soon. But instead, Pirlo went to Juve and helped the team create a midfield that won 3 straight league titles. But in 2015, it should have been more. Now 34, Pirlo and his Juve team were on the brink of making history when they faced Barca in the 2015 Champions League final. With 2 trophies in the bag, they were going for the treble in Pirlo's final game for the club. But unfortunately, it just wasn't meant to be. Breaks my heart watching that. Pirlo was one of the good guys, but even the bad guys also make us feel sad too. Like this moment from Mourinho and Materazzi, the Inter fans would never forget. For context, Mourinho led an Inter team, captained by Materazzi, to the treble in 2010, including that famous night against Barca. So now it was time for him to leave. It was a painful goodbye. At least they had their crowning moment months back. For Dortmund and Edin Terzic, they fell off in the most painful way possible. Coming into the last day of the 2022-23 Bundesliga season, Dortmund was on the brink of making history. Bayern had won the league 10 times in a row, but on the last day, all Dortmund needed was a win to seal the title. But it got off to the worst possible start, with Mainz going 2 goals up. Dortmund did manage to draw the game 2-2, but with Jamal Musiala scoring the winner for Bayern in the 85th minute, it meant Dortmund had blown their title charge on the last day.
Musiala! Have we just witnessed a big moment?
And once the ref hit the final whistle, the tears took over. Gotta feel for them. Imagine losing the league like that on the last day. Blowing a title charge sucks. But they won't be the first team to sadly do it. Liverpool in 2014 was close to breaking a 24-year jinx. 5 points clear at the top 3 with a few games left. And if Liverpool beat Chelsea, they'd have certainly been guaranteed to win the league. But in the cruelest way possible, they choked on it and slipped, with Steven Gerrard in the spotlight for the wrong reasons. But for Asamoah Gyan, one kick proved to be the worst moment of his life. The 120th minute, Ghana versus Uruguay in the 2010 World Cup quarterfinals, and the game was locked in at 1-1 when Ghana got a penalty and Gyan placed the ball on the spot. No African team had ever made it past this stage, and Gyan was one kick away from changing that. But it never happened. Gyan's miss, with Ghana also losing on penalties, meant their dream run on continental soil was over. If there's any consolation, Gyan wasn't blazing over in a World Cup final. Baggio scored 5 goals to get Italy to the stage. But when he had the kick that mattered most, he blew it. And that miss, that photo, sadly went on to define his career. It should have been different. That feeling of carrying your team all the way, but failing at the final step. Neymar knows it too, because back in 2020, he was this close to making history. Neymar and PSG had made it to the Champions League final, but just fell short to Bayern. And at full time, the Samba kid was in complete tears. Breaks my heart to see Ney like that. The Champions League is a wicked game. For Kevin De Bruyne, it's a bittersweet competition because he had to face the toughest moments of his career on there in 2 finals. 2021, De Bruyne got injured and couldn't continue. So when he and Man City got to another final in 2023, you can bet he had been hoping his luck changed in this one. But disaster struck again. 2 finals and 2 injuries. For someone who's one of the best midfielders of his generation, leaving like that in tears, that sucks. City did later go on to win the title though. But the moment could have been secondary to De Bruyne, just like winning the French League title was to Beckham in 2013. Because the saddest moment of his life was taking center stage. Beckham loved football all his life. That was the only thing he'd ever known. But in 2013, at 38, his body couldn't keep up the pace any longer. And on PSG's final home game against Stade Brestois, with the title already in the bag, Beckham called it quits on a career that had given him everything. He went down like a proper legend. Leaving the game is tough, but leaving the club that made you fall in love with the game is even worse. Take it from Ole. After becoming a cult hero in 1999, Ole took the wheel at United in 2018, but his 3 years at the club were full of ups and downs. And in the end, Ole was sacked in November 2021, and when talking about it, you could see just how much he loved the club. This guy would do anything for United. Can't remember a moment making me feel like that, since Ronaldo almost had his biggest dreams crushed in 2016. At the Euros, Ronaldo was on a mission. He'd successfully taken his Portugal team to the final with 4 goals, but just minutes into the biggest game of his international career, and bang! His knee snapped after the challenge, and despite trying to continue multiple times after, Ronaldo had to be subbed off. Lucky for football, Ronaldo returned as an emergency assistant coach to help the team, and Portugal won the match 1-0. But not all matches like this for Ronaldo have happy endings. Last year, and what was supposed to be his career-defining moment, Ronaldo went back home crushed. The 2022 World Cup, and Ronaldo had declared that this was going to be his last. Portugal made it to the quarterfinals against Morocco, but the coach benched CR7. With Portugal losing, Ronaldo was brought in to try and change the game, but he, unfortunately, couldn't do anything. And at full time, with Ronaldo realizing that this might be his last World Cup for Portugal, the result broke him. Damn, I gotta text him after this and hook him up to our channel, because that's what homies do to fellow homies.